Okay. I don't know how to say this, so don't take this the wrong way. I've never had to start a video like this, I don't think. But I really hope that one guy gets brutally murdered at least 2 or 3 times. That's a way to start a video, right? I hate that guy. Oh, I hate that guy. I went to start this, and then it unpaused on me, and I paused it real quick. So I tried to keep it where it was at, but it did move a little bit. But that's besides the point. I didn't cheat. So we're going to go ahead and jump back into this. Wrong button. I almost quit the video. We're going to jump right back into this. So get your popcorn, get your toenail pie. I don't know, whatever you eat, right? Let's eat it right now. I actually don't have anything to eat. Okay.
On June 26th, 1187, Saladin regroups his troops and marches towards the River Jordan. His army numbers around 30,000 and is divided into 3 wings, with Taqi ad-Din commanding the right, Kukburi commanding the left, and Saladin himself in the centre. On June 27th, the army reaches the River Jordan and makes camp in a marshy area near Lake Tiberias. Raiding parties are sent into Christian territory to ravage the area and set the stage for the invasion. Some 25 kilometers west, a Christian army some 20,000 strong encamps near Sephoria, a highly strategic location because of its rich water resources.
This isn't the guy that I want to see be brutally murdered 2 or 3 times. It's that other guy at that fort. But, you know, if he's going to go too, then, you know, yeah, we'll just...
On June 30th, Saladin sends a contingent north to block the town of Tiberias, and then challenges the Crusaders by moving his main camp closer to Sephoria, some 10 kilometers west of Lake Tiberias. But as neither side takes action, Saladin decides to make the first move. On July 1st, he sends scouts to monitor an alternative road on his northern flank that connects Sephoria and Tiberias. Later in the day, reports confirmed that the Crusaders are not advancing on either route, and on July 2nd, Saladin takes the initiative. He marches east towards Tiberias with most of his infantry, a cavalry contingent, siege engineers, and their equipment. By late morning, they reach Tiberias, where Raymond's wife is staying, and they besiege the town. Not long after, Muslim troops breach the wall, and the town is seized by nightfall. Raymond's wife barricades herself inside the citadel with her guards, and sends messengers urging King Guy to send help.
Damsel in distress.
Back west, plumes of smoke can be seen in the sky above Tiberias, and when news of the siege reaches the Crusader camp, King Guy holds a war council to debate what should be done. At first, Raymond of Tripoli makes a persuasive argument against marching to raise the siege, insisting that the Christian army has a strong defensive position at Sephoria and should stay put. But the Count's cautiousness is met with accusations of cowardice and treachery, mainly from the Templar master Gerard de Ridefort and Reynaud of Chatillon, who push for a more aggressive stance and put pressure on King Guy with strong political, military and diplomatic arguments. Persuaded, the king sends a herald through the camp to sound the call that the army will march to the rescue of Tiberias at dawn. And on July 3rd, the Crusader army makes way.
Oh, damn it.
Leave the block in the back.
What? Ow. No. Go back. Oh. No. Ow.
Way.
We're back.
They set out with Raymond of Tripoli commanding the vanguard. King Guy leads the centre, where the Bishop of Acre carries Christendom's greatest relic, the true cross, on which Christ is believed to have been crucified. Balian of Ibelin commands the rear guard, where the Templars and Hospitaliers are stationed. King Guy orders the men to march with...
So they have the cross. That is 1,187 years old at this point. And the cross was made of wood, right? It wasn't made of like titanium. So I'm going to guess that the average lifespan of a cross, after it's been cut down, a piece of a tree has been cut down and then put into a cross formation, is going to live longer, especially in those days, because you know they didn't treat it right. They didn't treat it with chemicals. Nah. Wood back then lasted 600, 700,000 years at least.
Haste, planning to reach the besieged town by the end of the day. But as noon approaches and the sun rises across the clear, cloudless sky, it becomes apparent that the day will be extremely hot. There is no breeze, and the scorching heat slows down the column. By midday, the army reaches the next watering point at the village of Hattin, only 1/3 of the way. But as they press on, there is no escaping the sun and the thick dust raised by the marching troops. It becomes clear to King Guy and his officers that they will not reach Tiberias in a single day. As the column moves away from Hattin, detachments of Saladin's fast-moving horse archers appear from nearby hills and begin harassing the Christians, cutting off their line of retreat. The Crusader infantry closes ranks to protect the cavalry against hit-and-run attacks, but the number of casualties in men and animals begins to rise. The day wears on, and the constant harassment and sporadic clashes slow the Crusader rearguard down to a crawl, and they become separated from the rest of the army. Fearing the loss of his elite shock cavalry, King Guy orders the centre to stop to allow the rearguard to catch up. He relays the message to Raymond, ordering him to halt the vanguard. But as the entire Crusader column gradually gets encircled by the ever-increasing number of Saladin's horse archers, it becomes clear that they have fallen into a trap. After quickly taking Tiberias, Saladin had time to return, leaving only a small garrison to block the citadel. And with his main contingent, he is now blocking the road. With nightfall fast approaching, the exhausted Christian fighters, slowed by thirst and hemmed in by Muslim forces, cannot fight their way past Saladin's fresh troops. King Guy has no choice but to order his men to make camp where they stand. Not far from the king's tent, the main Muslim contingent also encamps for the night. But the night ahead will be a difficult one for the Crusaders. Their column stretches some 2 kilometers and it's not protected by any natural terrain features. Muslim horse archers continue to pepper the camp throughout the night. Skirmishers clash with the Crusaders and set tents on fire along the camp perimeter. Unable to rest, and with their water supplies dwindling, the smoke and the heat from the fire drains the energy from the Christians.
Oh yeah.
Come morning, things quiet down. Saladin waits for the heat to rise and to see what the Christians will do. Crusaders, now without any water and tormented by thirst, have only one aim: the village of Hattin.
They were also tormented by the fact that they couldn't sleep. They had to deal with fire. Any water they did have, they probably had to use to put out those fires. They're probably not happy.
There is a water source. They make way across the valley, keeping the same formation of 3 squares, with infantry shielding the cavalry. Saladin's troops set fire to the nearby brushwood, sending choking clouds of smoke on a westerly breeze towards the Crusaders. And with the sun beating down from the clear sky, the Christians push on towards Hattin, desperate to reach its water well. To prevent this, Saladin sends Taqi al-Din's wing galloping to block the valley, determined to fully encircle the enemy and not allow them to quench their thirst. He especially wants to wear down the knights and their cavalry, aware of just how dangerous their frontal charge is. Taqi skirmishers ride in close, then hit and run to test the flanks of the Christians. Horse archers then unleash volley after volley onto the Crusader column. Exhausted, thirsty and disheartened, the Crusader infantry starts to break away from the mounted knights. They disperse and flee, with a large group heading east towards a hill called the Horns of Hattin, and another group fleeing north towards the village of Nimrin. Seeing the fleeing troops, Muslim riders open gaps in their line to draw out the enemy infantry. King Guy and his officers realize they are doomed unless they can break through. But the Muslims charge the rear of the column, and the Templars and Hospitaliers become heavily engaged, forcing Guy to halt for a second time to prevent the cavalry formations from breaking up. But in the front, Raymond of Tripoli is already edging away from King Guy's cavalry formation. As he advances, the Muslim riders begin opening another gap in their line. Raymond decides not to sit and wait. He gathers his knights and charges Taqi al-Din's cavalry. The Muslim riders let the galloping Christians pass through, showering Raymond and his men with arrows as they retreat from the battlefield. Back in the smoke-filled valley, the Christian knights are dying. Guy orders the cavalry to move towards the horns of Hattin through a gap already created by the retreating infantry. He knows that there are shallow pools of water at the top of the hill, and hopes they are not dry. Meanwhile, on the hill, Saladin's troops close in and engage the Christian infantry. Exhausted, the enemy infantry barely put up a fight, and they are quickly overwhelmed. The Muslims then turn towards the King of Jerusalem himself. Throughout the incessant close-quarter fighting, Christian knights gather around to protect the true cross as they retreat towards the hill. But at the top, they find no relief and no water.
"12 hours of uninterrupted pain relief. Aleve."
King Guy rallies his knights and raises his red tent to provide a focal point, but to no avail. Muslim troops push up the slope and engage the Christians. In the melee, the true cross falls into Muslim hands. Seeing this, the surviving Christian knights rally and charge downhill to retrieve it, pushing the Muslim line back. But they have no fight left in them, and soon begin to take heavy casualties. Finally, King Guy orders them to surrender. The knights dismount and collapse on the ground. King Guy is also found on the ground at his tent, utterly exhausted, barely having enough strength left to hand over his sword. Saladin's army has won a great victory. King Guy is captured along with many nobles and knights, among them Reynard of Chatillon. Saladin orders that ice water be brought and offered to the king. Then, according to Imad al-Din, the king, having drunk some of it, handed the cup to Reynard of Chatillon. Whereupon the Sultan said to an interpreter, "Say to the king, it is you who give him to drink, but I give him neither to drink nor to eat." By these words, Saladin wishes that it be understood that honor forbade him to harm any man who has tasted his hospitality. And with that, he swings his sword and strikes Reynard on the neck, thus fulfilling his oath to kill the truce-breaker.
I just rooted for the death of somebody. Oh, I didn't think that guy would have been involved, honestly. I really did not think he would be involved. Because he would just seem like a selfish guy. And the fact that he did, I give him a little bit of props for doing it. Oh, but I'm so glad he got killed. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, that was good.
But more importantly, the large Crusader army that is destroyed at Hattin cannot be replaced. Without it, Christian castles, towns and cities are now defenseless. By 1188, only Tyre and Antioch hold out to spur Europe to embark on another crusade. But that is a story for another time. It is worth noting that we mainly focused on Saladin's military achievements in this video, but there is much more to the man who was admired by his European enemies and loved by his fellow Muslims. Saladin was a courageous Muslim leader whose firm foundation in the religion and its prime values led to his commitment to the Islamic cause. In just 12 years, he united Mesopotamia, Syria, Egypt, Eastern Libya, Western Arabia and Yemen, using his skills in diplomacy and administration to piece together this divided region. His scope of vision was that he gave each situation its due attention and weight, and he never broke a bridge of diplomacy or peace initiative with his opponents. The power or wealth he acquired never spoiled him. He was a man of restless energy, geared to serve his goal in driving the invaders out of Muslim lands.
He never broke a bridge of diplomacy or peace initiative with his opponents. That's another thing with character. It just shows that, you know, you're a man of your word, you're trustworthy. That's why he was looked at so highly. Because he, you know, when he said it, he meant it. And none of his people were going to go against him because they loved him. Apparently, you know, not apparently. They truly loved the man. They would fight for him. They would die for him. And I have to believe, watching how he did this battle, he wasn't going to put his men in a situation that would have that would not have best suited their fighting. He wouldn't have just thrown them out to slaughter, so to speak. He put them in the best positions. And he seemed to have been a really good tactician for fighting. Yeah, you know, he never broke anything. Like, that's huge. That's huge. Because when you do that, even if you're fighting that man, and he says, "Look, we have a truce right now," you know, 2-year truce. You're thinking, today's day 1. I got 730, whatever. You know, you're like, no, we're good. We're good, and that's impressive.
We highly recommend you check out the sources we used for this video to learn more about one of the greatest princes of Islam.
Well, that was a good video. Oh, I'm so glad. Did it come across as me being overly excited that that one guy got his neck chopped with a sword? Because I was really happy. I don't know if you noticed that. Okay, I'm going to end this here. Thanks for the request. That was good. This was good. It was interesting. I really liked it. Sorry, I'm admiring the designs now. My mind has just wandered away from talking to admiring designs. Okay, I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe. Make a comment. How was your toenail pie? Was it delicious? Sounds like it was.